Blessed love, do give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. You're definitely here with us in the Tiger's Nest. Here I decided to share with you a program that I did a few months ago on the shock of the hour. This one is entitled The Baddest White Man, speaking about John Brown. I'm just going to give you a bit of it, an excerpt from it. I'm going to start it at the beginning. But let me just remind you that, as I'm looking to go into my chalice here, the chalices are still available. Of course, the chalices are still available, as I showed you earlier, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, scamdemic, and all the demics. It was a bit of an issue to get them out, but we are ready for you, all those who desire to get your chalices. Definitely, you know what you have to do. You contact me, precise27 at gmail.com. I will give you all the information, the price, and of course the shipping, which I will tell you even before you contact me. The shipping itself, might even be more than the chalice, because that's not us. I don't have a shipping company. That's exactly what's going on in the world. So these chalices, we definitely will be highlighting them on Minding Your Own Business. These were produced by Brother Meditation right here in Antigua. You'll definitely full enjoy them. But anyway, not going to waste any more time here. This is a shock of the hour program that was done, as I said, a few months ago, directly dealing with John Brown. And I really hope that you full enjoy it. All right. Make sure we have
the baddest white man who ever walked this planet.
Is that so?
The great Dick Gregory called John Brown the greatest American who ever lived. Because if it wasn't for him, the Civil War would have never kicked off. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote an entire book on John Brown. Dick Gregory has wrote about him several times. Dr. Claude Anderson has wrote about John Brown. John Brown was born on May 9th, 1800. John always had a hatred for slavery. Starting at an early age when he saw a little slave boy get beaten by a shovel by a white man. John felt that it was God's plan for him to free the slaves. John's family always told him that slavery was evil. One day, angry pro-slavery white mobs had killed an abolitionist named Elijah Lovejoy. They shot him outside of his newspaper office and they burned his entire building. John attended his memorial services and said, "From this day forward, I am concentrating my life to the destruction of slavery." In 1850, Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Act, mandating that all authorities in free slave states aid in the return of escaped slaves or imposing penalties on those who aided the escapes. John Brown's answer to that was create his own group. He created a group called the League of Gileadites. John raised and trained his kids to be as much of a G as he was. John was a very stern father and believed in tough love. One of his sons got shot and he begged his dad to put a bullet into his head. John's son begged him to just take him out of his misery. While he laid there in agony, John yelled at him and said, "Shut up. If die you must, then die like a man." John Brown's first taste of blood was in the Potawatomi Massacre. John came in with his people, slicing, stabbing, and shooting people to death. What he's most popular for was his raid on Harper's Ferry. They came through killing everything in sight. John and his crew came in taking hostages, stabbing people, taking guns. John was giving guns to slaves and destroying everything in his path. John only had an army of 21 people, with 5 of them being his own kids. John was expecting over 4,000 people, but it didn't turn out that way. Harper's Ferry was where the weapons were made, so it was full of military rifles, bullets, and 4 divisions of troops guarding it. John also reached out to Frederick Douglass, he reached out to Harriet Tubman, and he reached out to other black leaders. But they declined, they wouldn't give their assistance. John felt if they joined his crusade, he can use their connections. They could call the slaves to arms. He felt that the slaves would not rally to an unknown white man. But if they knew about Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, John used a term called the bees will hive.
And to be honest, I did this video like a few months ago, as I said, and the statement that the brother made about Harriet Tubman declining from her record, from her account, she didn't actually decline. When the raid went on Harper's Ferry, that's it. She was not there, but it was, you know, it had to do with some sort of misunderstanding with transportation and these different things. I've heard her account. It was read by the lady that has always portrayed her, Harriet Tubman. So no disrespect to the narrator here, but you know, that's how it is with history. Sometimes we tend to paint someone a little darker, if you want to use that term, than maybe they really were at the time, or even their ideas. So in other words, it's not as if she just decided that, no, I ain't gonna go with no John Brown. In fact, she spoke of, you know, her admiration for John Brown, but at the time of that raid, something came up. There was something that came in her way. I must say that I can't put it out right now. I think I would have addressed it in this program, but let's continue to listen. But I just said, let me just put that out early, you know, because let's get the history straight.
John and his crew took over Harper's Ferry pretty easily, but he waited way too long for the slaves to respond. John kept telling his crew to be patient. The bees will hive. After seizing and holding Harper's Ferry for 2 days, the slaves did not rally to his side. John made the fatal mistake of waiting way too long for the slaves to rise up. During the attack, John stopped the train and he decided to let the train go. But the train staff informed Washington of what's going on. Washington sent Robert E. Lee and the rest of the Marines to capture John. John was arrested and received the death penalty. On December 2nd, 1859, the day of his execution, John wrote in his diary, "I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land would never be purged away but with blood. I had, and I now think vanity flattered, myself that without very much bloodshed, it might be done." After John Brown's death, Frederick Douglass wrote, "Brown's struggle to the cause of freedom was far superior to mine. Mine was a small light, his was a burning sun. Mine was bound by the time he was stretched away to the silent shores of eternity. As a black man, I am willing to speak for the Negro slave. But John Brown was willing to die for the slave." John Brown was hanged in front of thousands of people in Charlestown, Virginia. Among the people at his execution was General Stonewall Jackson, poet Walt Whitman. There's over 40 books on John Brown. 40. 40. I haven't even read half of them, but I would highly recommend 2 of them. One would be W.E.B. Du Bois' book. The other book will be written by David S. Reynolds, the abolitionist who killed slavery and sparked the Civil War.
See, brothers and sisters, you're not going to straighten up on any word from me. Just the better ones of you. You're not going to hear no warning. No. Bush is not going to straighten up. Deng Xiaoping is not going to straighten up. The world leaders are bent on their course. They don't straighten up with no preaching. The shock of the hour has to be so powerful that it casts terror into the heart. Make you drop to your knees like the oxen that is being laid under burden. Force you to pray to whatever God you think you know. Make you call it.
As I said, that's a program I did a few months ago. Let me just fast forward the music. And some of you don't want to hear too much music. Oh, priest, too much music. Let's hear the talking.
Subject area that I just decided that I wanted to
That's
highlight
me speaking there
this evening, and
Shock
we'll
of
be
the hour.
speaking a bit about Brother John Brown.
Hey, make sure you join us this Saturday for the lecture, Healthy Living, for both male and female, the Honorable Priest Kailash Leons. I mean, ready and rearing to go, trust me.
And John Brown is considered to be one of the, if not the, I think the most ruthless abolitionists in the world. And he practiced his craft, of course, where he was a native to, or was born, I should say, not even native to, which is the United States of America. Born in the 1800s. In fact, he was born in 1800. The 9th of May, he was born. As you may know, he was executed when he was 59 years old, the 2nd of December. Yes, and this was because of the stance that he took in the whole aspect of, the abolishment of slavery in general. And I am not a fan of the abolitionists. I'm telling you straight, I am telling you, I mean, I ain't got nothing against nobody. but I don't sing the praises of William Wilberforce or any one of the others. In fact, many of them rose up against John Brown, especially after he was caught. Many of them came out saying, "Oh well, he was a little too, uncivilized, and this is not the way to gain freedom for the Negroes," and all of these different things. So, although many of us will be thankful for what the abolitionists did, yeah, well, all of that is good, nice, but not really impressive to me. If it's impressive to you, everyone has their cup of tea. But John Brown now, that's how you win a war, man. This little cupcake vibration ain't gonna work. You gotta step in. And I must say, in my studies, there is not another Caucasian, an individual of European descent, that I even put in the same row as John Brown. I'm not saying they don't exist. And this is just my humble opinion. You don't have to think like me. Please think for yourself. But as far as what history is showing me, how he operated is how the black man should be operating. So, to be very honest, the standard is almost the same, really. What I expect from one man, I expect from the other man, for real. It is just that, you know, the to use the term without no disrespect, it's just that the other man now, when the other man comes to realize that, hey, because remember, the black man is fighting for his freedom. And they have some Negroes that would not even put their own life on the line for their own freedom. Listen to what Frederick Douglass said, somebody that we do admire. Well, he's saying he was willing to speak for the freedom of the Negro or the slaves. And Mr. John Brown was willing to die for the freedom of the slaves. Not for his freedom.
Frederick Douglass.
I mean, he could have shaved his beard and, live a cool life. He took his own children and he shook them out and said, hey, we are going to free some slaves. And if we have to kill Uncle Bill and Cousin Clement and their two bloodhounds, it doesn't mean nothing, because it is unjust for you to keep other people in such bondage. He didn't just talk it. The man went for the artillery. This is what I'm talking about. The man gave the Negroes the machine and say, yo, let's go out blasting. Did it several times. Bust the cranium of some of his own relatives, just so that a little black boy could run out into the wilderness and find freedom one day. So, to me, I mean, I'm not judge and jury, but to me, that is the standard. That standard that he carried is the standard of a European man. You move like that, I could work with you any day. Because that's really the standard in general. I will repeat, even a black man should be thinking like that. It's not about going and killing anyone. I always like to I'm not telling nobody to go do nobody no harm. Sometimes the feel or the stage changes for a different level of play. But it's not about what you do, it's how you think. Because if you understand the art of war, you could kill more people than if you go and kill somebody. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying. If you understand or understood the art of war, you could kill more of your enemies if you know what you're doing than if you go and pick up a pistol and go and, you know what I mean, just shoot at, you know, somebody that you think is not a nice person. You may get one or two. You may take down 3 or 4, even if you have 10 under your belt. But if that's a constant practice, unless you're a super ninja, they will run up on you one day. You will get your 2nd of December, 1859. But the point is, it's the mentality, how you think, your standing principles. That is the John Brown mentality that we are talking about. Remember, you're in a state of captivity. Eh? This is what I'm saying. You are in a specific state of captivity. Not just now, even then. Let's look at then. You're in a state of captivity. And because the pressure is so high, most of you, the vast majority of you, would like some level of freedom. Maybe the few uppity house Negroes don't want to leave the master's house. But trust me, the vast majority of you want to get out the cotton field. The vast majority of you want to get out the cane field. But very few of you are going to be a King Court. Very few of you are going to be a Nat Turner. Very few of you are going to be a Denmark Vizzy. Very few are going to be a Desaline or stand up for your own freedom. And then those who have kept you in this bondage for quite a bit, harsh bondage too, they benefit from your bondage. Plus, in all reality, their attitude in general doesn't seem as if they have anything inside of them that shows any care for your bondage. But yet still amongst them, there is one that is even more revolutionary or more rebellious than many of us that are locked in the cage. There is one that seems to be more emotionally charged about getting us out of the cage than some of us want to get out the cage. We want to get out the cage, but we're not willing to put our life on the line to get out the cage. And he is one that's not even in the cage. He will never go in the cage. There's nothing about him that will put him in the cage. In fact, he could live a great life outside of the cage. And he put his life on the line to get as much as he can out of the cave. And I'm only going with the history I know. I wasn't there. I only go with the information that I'm privy to. One may argue, oh man, he's a white man, he got an ulterior motive. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't pick it up at all when I study what Brother Brown has done in his 59 years. He had a long enough time to prove himself. And even in this modern time now, it's the same thing. Now, because you pick up Rastafari, I mean you're a John Brown, eh? No, that's not how it goes at all. No. Enough people is Rastafari, black people, and believe me, I mean, again, I'm not the judge of Rasta. I always like when Bob Marley said that he ain't the judge of Rasta. But trust me, enough ones ain't dealing with nothing. I mean, you ain't got to be a judge to know that. Enough ones ain't dealing with squat. They're just there in the clothes. So your personal vibes, even if you love the king, as you say, that's good. That's your personal vibe. But this ain't personal vibes. This is taking up arms and fighting for the liberation of a specific people. Oh yeah. You can't just step into this and say, well, you know what I mean, I'm one like you, and not putting your you know what I mean, your shoulder to the wheel. And don't mind many of us, the vast majority of us ain't putting no shoulder to the wheel. I don't know if the brother thought there was a sense of responsibility in the sense that, well, listen, my people did this. That's a good way to think. That is a good way to think. And I'm not going to the depths of it tonight, but I'm telling you, I plan to do a massive lecture, not a pay-per-view lecture, but free for view, dealing with the whole science of so-called black and white with Rastafari in the midst. It's going to be a very lengthy presentation, very lengthy, because although many people think that it's a subject that, you know what I mean, we shouldn't talk about. And as you can see, it's not something I really talk about. I mean, you can see there's a different realms here altogether. But it's just reality. Many people need to understand. I don't come to convince people. Sometimes people hold one side and say, well, no, it's A. And this other one say, no, it's B. No, I believe it's A. No, I believe it's B. I don't come to tell you it's A or B. I come to show, hey, listen, there's A, there's B. Listen, there's C and D too. Wow. Did you know there's E, F, and G? Oh boy. And there's also H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And listen, watch this. There's Q, R, and S. There's T. And Q, R, S, T is Christ. U and V, the rays. And W, X, the rays of the sun. Christ and the sun. W, X, and Y, and Z. Now, many people didn't know that they had so many other letters, characters. They just thought it was A or B. And what I do, I put the other characters on the table to show you, yo, it's more than meets the eye. And then that would allow you, hopefully, to make a more sound decision. So many people have this tug of war with black and white. And there are many facets to that. Many, it's not just one little thing. There's different layers of understanding to that. Biologically, spiritually, socially, historically. I mean, you would agree. Just to break that down, you could see, okay, all right. Reality. Records. I always say black supremacy is not the flip side of white supremacy. So one will quickly say, I am not for white supremacy and I'm not for black supremacy. That's something Brother Nelson Mandela would say. Now, I'm not for white supremacy, but I'm for black supremacy. Now, obviously, to the unlearned, no offense, you would feel that, well, I'm prejudiced. You know, I'm biased because I ain't for white supremacy, but I'm for black supremacy. That's very biased of me. That's why you need to look at it historically too. Because historically, white supremacy has had its time. In fact, to me, it's still, you know, it's still a white supremacist world. And you see how the world runs. But we have records of when it was a black supremacist world. And you see how the world ran. And it was full of love and balance. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't this. There wasn't so much climate change conferences. I mean, it was a different kettle of fish, as they say, altogether. So that is why we boast of civilization under the watch of black supremacy and the growth of morals and standards and the concept of God and theology. People talking about, I hear black people talking about, well, remember we went through the Spanish plague, the Black Death and this, that, and all kind of flus and epidemics. And I said, but where were these epidemics taking place? In Africa? No, in Europe. Check yourself, man. We have to understand how to place things in their right perspective. That's why people need to read. Because you just listen to the radio and the doctor says, well, we went through the Middle Ages and came out in the Renaissance. And you just go and say that to somebody else and know that that ain't got really nothing to do with you coming out and nothing. It has a lot to do with you because you were the one that brought them out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance. Coldeba, the Moors. You understand? So the subject area needs to be addressed. It does. It does. No, it does. We can't run from these things. It's something that needs to be addressed. Communication is important. I mean, you should know me by now. Not because I address something mean we're going to break down the house. You got to look things square in the eye. And there's a very vague understanding with the reality of what is referred to as black and white. People just say black and white. I wonder how the Chinese and the yellow and the red, people say they have yellow people and red people. I wonder how they feel when we talk about the black and the white. Because they're, colors that, if you want to say in between, and we know they're not really colors, but we know what we're talking about. So it's something I intend to address in the but maybe not very, but in the near future. Something I will highlight before I do it. Man, I sure will take about 3 hours for that lecture alone. Man, maybe not that long. It's going to be one of those extensive lectures. And when you leave the zone, you will be sure to understand exactly how to balance the thing off. But anyway, we're not really talking about black and white. We're talking about John Brown. You understand? And what I want to do now, as you can obviously see, the vibes is quite nice here. What I want to do now is to go to, this is actually a video documentary.
Okay, don't go to that yet, my brother. Even that subject area that we were just speaking about a moment ago, we definitely will be covering that as it goes through the Lenten period. That whole the 40 days and 40 night period, as we would call it, and a few other subjects that we will be touching upon, because there's such a mystic thing going on with this Lenten period and this resurrection. The 2nd of April is the resurrection. 2nd of April is the day that Haile Selassie became emperor. Again, you may be saying, oh, it's the 2nd of November. Yeah, the 2nd of November was the coronation, but the emperor was the emperor. Emperor Rastafari, or Emperor Tafari, I should say. Negus Tafari became Negus Negus Tafari. He was Negus Negus Tafari for 7 months. And then and on the 7th month to the very day became Negus Negus Haile Selassie I, or Negus Negus. Yeah, Negus Negus Kadamawe Haile Selassie. In real respect. So that is going to be a mystic celebration, and we will have to touch upon that and the science of how that is connected. I'm really looking forward to that. But that black-white dynamics, when you touch upon it, people say, oh, we don't need to talk about that. You mad, you crazy, you don't understand the reality of what's going on in this world. Even amongst I and as Rastafari, to me, something that's clear. Even anybody that you see saying, no, you don't need to, is because they are afraid of something. They will tell you, oh, you don't need to. The king already say, okay, well, what the king say, everybody don't know what the king say. So it's a process that needs teaching. Don't be afraid, man. Just look reality in the eye. Understand? Yeah. But anyway, as I said, I was just giving you an excerpt of this here. This is an excerpt from, as you could see, a program that we did on the shock of the hour. I must say I was just holding a meditation to it, and I fully enjoyed the bit that we received, and give thanks to all the John Browns out there, wherever they may be. You understand? Don't we just jumping up and feel, you know, John Brown now. John Brown is a very rare character. A rare character. You understand? So if you're not looking to do the John Brown stuff, don't categorize yourself as no kind of John Brown. Yeah. Give thanks. Things bless honorable princess. Oh yeah, glorified. Life giver. So yes, of course, you know, we're reminding you, remember that it is Saturday. That's just in a few days from now. We're talking about Saturday, the 6th of March. The Honorable Priest Kailash Leons will be with us online, the official online lecture. No, it's not no Zoom lecture. We'll be utilizing, for those of you who have not been to any of our webinars, we'll be definitely utilizing a specific webinar online site. So it's the 6th of March, of course, you know, admission only $25. And of course, we are talking about healthy living for both male and female. Remember, you can make your payments using the Cash App at Anura 2723. And of course, remember, your chalices are also available. Just email me, man, priestisaac27@gmail.com, and everything will be put in perspective. Life giver, Holy Emmanuel Selassie, Jah Rastafari. Blessed love.